My humble beginnings doing dishes.
Man, do dishes.
Right, just don't interrupt them, that's all. Yeah. Jonathan, I hope you're filming.
Yes. Feel no pressure.
Yeah,
And that we don't get to have our own lives. We don't get to have a lot of the preconceptions we thought that we get to have as we're growing up. Because there's this other thing that we have to take care of.
we take ownership, possession, and then jealousy and greed and everything else comes into play. And then wars come into play, fighting over pieces of chunks.
Yeah, and
of
it
land.
cascades because then you have whole societal things where you have to have a society based in agriculture so you can feed your army and so it goes really far deep and really long history of building it exponentially on a craziness.
Exactly.
And so what eventually ends up happening is you have a world that's overpopulated because of the dependence on corruption. And if we want to suddenly be nice, if everyone wanted to be smart and nice and no longer rely on corruption, 80–90% of the population is going to die, mostly of starvation. If that's going to happen, are we going to freak out and panic, or are we going to face it stoically and everyone become experts in hospice care?
It is adapt or die, isn't it? Depending on everything.
Well, it's you're going to die anyway, and are you going to freak out about it, or are you going to enjoy some fearlessness in not having your fear of death held over you like a hostage? Like you're not going to.
Like the Catholic Church, you're going to go to purgatory or hell. Right?
Yeah. Or you do this, or we're going to kill you. You do this horrible thing, or we're going to kill you, or take your family away, or. And if you don't have that attachment, suddenly you are most productive towards those people and things that you appreciate. Because by not putting up with the bullshit unto your death and unto the suffering and death of everything you love, that I will not bend in this, you are giving everything you love an example of you don't have to be a slave. There's a reason God invented the devil.
Hot and cold, good, bad,
the
good and
devil's
evil.
the greatest lesson. It's like, here's suffering, now you have to figure out how to make it not suffer anymore. And then you either self-destruct or you figure it out. And
Now, do you believe in a physical God?
The grand infinite singularity that is moving, that has little facets of it that occasionally smile. That you are God and I am God. And like what Freud talked about, the superego, that's the personality of God or the personality of life. It's like, that's where the divinity comes from. It's not a mystical, magical thing. It's the description of a thinking process. A divinity is to divine something, to discern something. And so your ego has a happiness, and then you discern how that happiness is to come about. That's the divinity.
So are we not just adaptive feedback control mechanisms?
That smile. And so we are robots. And we don't make choices. And so we're just playing this play of flowing into the future, responding with the now, with the way our experience has taught us to. And that's the most intimidating thing. And that goes down to the root of every religion and whatever, that pride is a sin.
So how do we connect?
First you have to trust the part in your own head that can trust things, that unavoidably we don't ultimately get our own separate subjective truths because we all exist in the same universe. And there are certain universal parameters that everything adheres to, inescapably adheres to.
How would we run a society that we could all share if we didn't have taxes like the roads, the schools, health, like safety, like ambulance, that sort of thing?
It's an
would
easy
we?
one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the answer.
Because it's even if loving truth means the entire world has to turn into a refugee camp where roads degrade and there are no more hospitals, then that's better than a world that demands you live a lie to survive. Wherever there's anger, it's everyone's business.
Oh.
And so
So if it was to change, would it be a subtle change or an abrupt change?
It will be a biblical scale intensity that most people will call, oh, this is the tribulation. Wanting to survive without having to rely on psychotic behavior will pull people together, and there will be great communities, and they will become focal points for the crazy ones to try and infiltrate. And so essentially it will be very dramatic.
You feel this happening?
Well, that's how it has to happen. You know?
So we've become so dependent on stuff and so dependent on gadgets that we've forgotten how to just even survive as a human being off the land.
Well, it's really easy to learn when, you know, all you need to know to garden is to put the seed an inch under the ground. It's really beautiful to watch people go from fledglingness of competent survival to a level of competence that in a matter of days, it's like, oh, because that's how you have to do it. Okay, and it's like survival in that regard isn't going to be a problem. Like an accountant who's never been outside before can learn how to farm in a day.
That's if they're willing to.
Well, they are going to have to, because there's not going to be any food. Or they'll go psychotic and join the guys who are going around stealing everyone's food. Or they will self-destruct. Or a form of suicide.
Yeah.
They just won't be able to take it.
Yeah,
Self-destruction.
Much, everyone. And just for the record, what's your name?
Rachel Healy.
Thank you, Rachel. And your name? Arthur doing dishes. Thank